Give me a second. Welcome to the collective. My name is Leah Bowden, and tonight is the Summer All Booked Book Club, and we are spending a summer in the poems. And in particular, we are looking at two poets together. I did show two poetry books, but not you don't have to buy the books to enjoy their poetry. We can still enjoy these two poets. Oh, it's not. Shannon is a female name, though, right, Julia? Sorry. Jordan, sorry. Gosh, I'm reading so many things at once. Julia, I'm looking at your face going, we hung out at the weekend and why is your name different? I don't understand. Maybe I didn't know your name. Okay. Where it says Jordan, this is Julia. And for those watching on the replay, I'm talking to the Zoom room here. Okay, so our two poets this summer, we have Mary Oliver and we have Langston Hughes. These are the two collections that I am using because they are selected poems. I mean, look at the heftiness of Mary Oliver's devotions. It's got so many in there. It's fantastic. And I'm so glad that I discovered this selected collection of Langston Hughes poems because there's a whole chunk that I didn't know anything about that I think is brilliant for children. And I'll say this before we get started. If you get this, and there's a section in the middle, which I will read one from, it's on page 47 called Sea and Land, and it's a whole collection of shorter poems. Like you've got one called Joy there. Anyway, if you're looking for a different collection of poems for your children, obviously, as ever, read them all beforehand because it's not a collection for children, but nothing I've come across here I wouldn't read to children. There's been a love there. And they're just kind of a lovely introduction to his poetry. So the idea behind our summer in the poems, normally at All Books Book Club, obviously we devour a book, half a book, and then we come and discuss it in depth. And then we do the second half and then discuss it in depth. But what we're doing over the summer is just enjoying poetry together. And those of you who know me well, one of my great motives in life is to get people reading more poetry and possibly even writing it as well. So that is what I love to do. And so I thought we'd do that this summer. So it looks like most people are going to be watching on the replay. But with only a few of us here, and if only a few of us read a poem or two each, if we do, I know Leah is only listening, and that's absolutely fine, then it will be a pretty short evening, but we'll see how we go. But if you are watching on the replay, and I will put this up on Substack as usual, please do post in the comments the poem that you would have shared and maybe have a recommendation for us, then pop it in there. So Jordan, not Jordan, Julia, that's good. You know what? I can actually change your name. Let me do this because it's going to throw me. Look, did you know I have this amazing power? Watch. There we go. Okay, Shannon and Julia, do you have poems to share this evening or this afternoon for you guys?
Well, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you
Okay,
fine.
perfect. Um, I can grab a poem. I wasn't planning on it. I just joined the collective 2 days ago, but
Welcome, of course.
I
Yes, you're
have been reading
new.
poetry since I heard your talk, and yeah, I'll go grab one real
Good.
quick.
Okay, you grab a poem because tonight we can read any poems. Shannon, how about you? Do you have one to share with us?
So I read the Mary Oliver one.
Yeah,
I might
yeah,
have,
brilliant. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it's basically the idea is that the idea is to get people just reading poetry over the summer. And so when we do come together, you can pick from either of the books, it doesn't matter, or either of the poets. Or in Julia's case, like she just said, she's brand new to the collective. And Julia, we do usually have more people on the lives, just so you know. Now, Leah, you've come on camera. Do let me know if you'd like to read one and you're in between peeling potatoes, because I would love to hear your choices. So I will get us started, and I'm going to just get the ball rolling here. I'm going to read a poem, and then maybe just tell you what I was drawn to from that poem, if I was. So I'll start with a poem. I've been reading Mary Oliver for many, many years, quite obsessed with her work and her story, really. I love her story. And I heard, and she didn't do many interviews. She didn't die that long ago. It was, it's in our lifetime. And she kept herself to herself, didn't really share many personal details about her life, and didn't do many interviews. But she did take an interview with one of my favorite podcasters and radio broadcasters, who is Krista Tippett. And she broadcast an interview with Mary Oliver. I will put it in the replay of this post. And she broadcast an interview with her quite some time ago now, just before she died. So I managed to catch it just as it came out. I must have listened to it 5 or 6 times because it's just so fascinating. And what she shared in that interview was that poetry saved her. Poetry saved her life. And she says this because of the way poetry, the writing of poetry, was introduced to her life. She had quite a traumatic childhood and was living in quite a home that was unsafe. And so she would get up early to get out of the house and take a notebook into the woods, and she would write every single morning. She would walk and write. So, what I find interesting, once I learned this about her, some of her early poems, you can almost sense that she is, the way she's describing things, there's movement with it because she's literally walking and writing, walking and writing, which I find quite fascinating. And so her early beginnings as a child into writing poetry came out of a place of escape, but actually, what that poetry did was she took her deep into nature and really brought along a healing in her. And she, for the rest of her life, wrote poetry. And she had other jobs and had to make money and pay bills and do all that kind of stuff. But I found that really fascinating. Still to her dying day, she said that we should write poems with a pen and paper, with a pencil and paper. She said, "Do not to use the computer." And what I know this about her from the interview, and you'll really enjoy it if you love listening to things like that. I mean, she's kind of anyway. I won't say my thoughts. I want you to listen to it. I won't say too many things, but I remember her saying, I think the question was, what would you recommend to poets today and writers? And she just said, stay away from the computers. So this is actually a poem I read last night, and I've never read this one before. And this is really sweet. And so this is called "With Thanks to the Field Sparrow, whose voice is so delicate and humble." If you've got this book, it's on page 73. I do not live happily or comfortably with the cleverness of our time. The talk is all about computers. The news is all about bombs and blood. This morning, in the fresh field, I came upon a hidden nest. It held 4 warm, speckled eggs. I touched them, then went away softly, having felt something more wonderful than all the electricity of New York City. I love that. That's it. That is it. I love that. And I kept mulling over that line of, I do not live happily or comfortably with the cleverness of our time, of our times. I thought that was interesting because I appreciate the cleverness of our times, and I feel like it has helped us hugely advance, even with getting our words out there. And of course, if it wasn't for the advancement of our times, her words wouldn't have got out there as much as they have done. And even now, people are constantly sharing Mary Oliver quotes. Hey, Melanie. Um, and so I love that. But what I love about Mary Oliver's work, because it's so drenched in nature appreciation, obviously, it reminds me of Charlotte Mason's constant guidance. And she also reminds me of Wordsworth and those uh, his constant, again, encouragement and wooing into nature. Let nature be your teacher, and she's a clear example of that. So I really love that one. I have some others, I have some longer ones. So anybody else like to share a Mary Oliver poem?
Can I
Go ahead.
quickly share before I'm off doing other things?
Absolutely, Leah. You share away. I'm so glad that you came on. But never any pressure, but I am so glad to see
Thank you.
you.
I found The Gift, and I thought that was lovely. So it's after the wind-bruised sea furrowed itself back into folds of blue, I found in the black rack a shell called the Neptune, tawny and white, spherical, with a tail and a tower and a dark door, and all of it no larger than my fist. It looked, you might say, very expensive. I thought of its travels in the Atlantic's wind-pounded bowl, and wondered that it was still intact. Ah, yes, there was that door that held only the eventual, inevitable emptiness. There's always that. Still, what a house to leave behind. I held it like the wisest of books and imagined its travels towards my hand, and now your hand. And I just thought that was lovely. And I do kind of similar things with shells and think about where it's been and with
Yeah.
fossils and things like that. And it takes you somewhere else. And it's such a little thing, but it's so powerful and makes you think of other worlds and the journeys it's been on and when it was once a living thing and what it's done and where it's been and what it could tell you.
I love
um,
that.
and I just
Yeah.
think it was so lovely, and I just felt that I feel similar to her, and it was lovely. There are lots of others. I've only recently got into Mary Oliver, and so it's been lovely to
Isn't she
yeah
wonderful?
yeah
Oh, it's
yeah
so
amazing. And I
wonderful.
love the way that you said she's like Wordsworth, and that's exactly it. There's so many that you think, yeah, she obviously knows the area so well, and where she's done regular walks, and it's all so familiar, and but then the changing seasons and things like that, and yeah, it completely reminded me of Wordsworth. Yeah.
Yeah. So lovely. Um, that when you were just talking about the journey of the shell, I was speaking at a retreat over the weekend where Julia was, and I shared about biography, of course, because you saw it here first. She's here live. So all these have come out. But I got to share about biography, but I didn't just share about books. I shared about biography that comes to us through poetry and art and music. But I spoke about this anthropological concept called material culture. And this is where we learn about someone's life through their stuff. So, like a candle holder or relics from a museum or your books that have been passed down from your great grandma and they've got annotations in them. And we can learn about the biography of people's lives through their stuff. And it reminded me of that when you were describing how when we collect things from the beach or from the woods and the journey that so even collecting an acorn, the journey from the seed, the growth, the process that all that has been through. I love that idea. And I wonder, yeah, we get connected. We have these little treasure troves, don't we, of beautiful things that I think we're drawn to them because of a story that's attached to them, not just because they look nice, but there's something deeper within. And definitely Mary Oliver captures that so often. Thank you, Leah. That is lovely. Okay, anyone else like to share
So
a Mary
I'm
Oliver?
gonna,
Shannon,
I have teenage boys that keep hollering upstairs.
that's
Sorry.
all right. We love teenage boys.
So, I'm on page 64. So I like to go for walks in the morning, and this just reminded me how I go to the woods. Ordinarily, I go to the woods alone with not a single friend, for they are all the smilers and talkers and therefore unsuitable. I don't really want to be witnessed talking to the catbirds or hugging the old black oak tree, because I don't hug a tree, but still, I have my way of praying, as you no doubt have yours. Besides, when I am alone, I can become invisible. I can sit on the top of a dune as motionless as an uprise of weeds until the foxes run by unconcerned. I can hear the almost unbearable sound of the roses singing. Unhearable, sorry. And if you've ever gone to the woods with me, I must love you very much.
I wow, I
Yeah.
love that one. What page is that on?
64.
I'm gonna mark that one to read again later. So what did you like about it?
Well, I've just been using like my walking time in the morning to like pray, listen to scripture, sing, and try not to sing too loud to disturb the neighbors, but just as like a quiet time. And so just being out in nature and creation, it was just it just reminded me of that, how the creation kind of calls to us to praise our creator. So
Yeah. I love that. And it also reminds me of another Charlotte Mason concept, which she just reminds me of it all the time, where because Charlotte Mason talks about going on a nature walk, not a nature talk. I think it's in volume 1. She says that, which I think with children, we all find that very hard because they want to narrate and chatter and even when I'm with my family, I'm wanting to point things out. But when I'm on my own, it is a very different experience. And I don't know what you're like, if I'm on a nature walk with somebody or just a walk, I slow everyone down because I'm like, taking pictures or I'm examining plants and trees and looking for birds. So I do echo her wanting to be on her own. I like that last line. Basically, if you've ever been a walk with me, I must like you very much. That's so great. I love that. Thank you for sharing that one,
well,
Shannon.
just the fact, I mean, it is you're going out initially to go and exercise, and get some physical
Yeah,
exercise, but just to stop and see. We live in a neighborhood with a lot of birds and just nature, and it's just beautiful to slow down and actually look at the flowers. I've put the Google app on so I can now, what is that flower? What is that? Just
yeah.
it is amazing to do that. Just
And the more familiar you become with the landscape, you kind of greet those things again in the next season. I love spring when all the flowers are starting to come up in the fields and you spot the celandine again or you see them coming back up. It's almost like you're back. The marsh marigolds are back and all the colours of the different seasons. So yeah, I do love that. So Julia, what have you been reading then since the weekend?
So this book was waiting for me when I got home.
Oh, fantastic.
And I, we actually had a
So hang
mom.
on, just for the sake of the people in the room and the replay viewers,
Oh, yes.
Julia was at the same conference as me over the weekend in Minnesota. So do you want to hold the book up to your screen? So I recommended this book. It's called The Axe. Is it For the Frozen Sea?
All right. So blurry. Axe
I know
for the
I
Frozen Sea.
it is. The Axe for the Frozen Sea by Ben Palpa. I'm just loving it. Hey Tracy. And this is a collection of interviews with poets, living poets, obviously. And he also posts one of their poems at the end or the beginning of every interview. So I highly recommended this book over the weekend, and I'm loving seeing people reading it already. So take it away, Julia.
Okay. I chose, it's called California Hills in August, and it's by Dana Joya. I think that's how you
Hmm.
say it. I can imagine someone who found these fields unbearable, who climbed the hillside in the heat, cursing the dust, cracking the brittle weeds underfoot, wishing a few more trees for shade. An Easterner, especially summer, the dry, twisted shapes of black elm, scrub oak, and the chaparral, a landscape August has already drained of green. One who would hurry over the clinging thistle, foxtail, golden poppy, knowing everything was just a weed, unable to conceive that these trees and sparse, brown bushes were alive, and hate the bright stillness of the noon without wind, without motion, the only other living thing a hawk, hungry for prey, suspended in the blinding sunlit blue. And yet, how gentle it seems to someone raised in a landscape short of rain, the skyline of a hill broken by no more trees than one can count the grass, the empty sky, the wish for water. I like that one because I grew up in Southern California, and I actually sent this one to my mom this morning because she was an adult, obviously, when we moved away. And she said, I wanted to move away so bad because of those things like the brown sky and it was just brown everywhere. And now she read this and she goes, and I do miss it more than I thought I would. And
Really?
we get
Wow.
to go back and visit and we do make sure we spend a lot of time in nature out there because it is so beautiful out there.
I love that. Sometimes, well, there's so much about poetry that gives words to things that we can't fully comprehend or even communicate. And so helping us, poetry often helps us get perspective. And yeah, I love that you shared it with your mum. I love that we can share poems because they're not whole chapters of books that we can just pass these poems around. I love that.
Yeah.
That was lovely. Hey Tracy and Jennifer's just listening. So we are focusing for those joining, and we're focusing. We did kind of launch these two books over the summer, but Julia's just joined the collective. So welcome to Julia. And so she's already sharing the poems that she's reading. And over the weekend, I was just telling everybody I recommended The Axe for the Frozen Sea. I've popped it in the chat. The link I've used is for the Rabbit Room, but you can get it wherever books are sold. So you can choose where to get that from. I think probably for the UK, the big A will sell it. That's the one to get it from. And if we have a chance later, I may read a little bit to you from that. Okay, so we've had a couple, two or three Mary Oliver poems. We've had, tell me the poet again, Julia, that you just read from.
That was Dana Gioia,
I
Gioia.
say that again. G-O.
It was Gioia.
Hang on a sec. I'm just going to make sure everyone's got. Um,
I can
oh,
type it.
it's a man, right?
Yes, it is. I thought it was a woman the whole time. At the end, I was like, oh,
It's.
it's a male.
I want. Okay. Oh, and he was born in California. Yes. Okay. Here, I'll give you his wiki page, everyone, so you know who he is. There we go. There you go. If you want to research him. All right. Tracy, have you got a poem for us that you'd like to share? We're basically just reading poems out, and then if we want to, sharing a little bit about what drew us to that. I've just shared one so far. I've got lots up my sleeve.
Love to. I sorry I'm late, by the way. I forgot. I was sitting out back and I went, oh, it's 3:30 and I ran up.
Don't worry. I think a lot of people do in the summer. It's so easy to do. I know. It's fine. We'll get more coming next month, I'm sure.
Well, I was torn between a couple. My favorite poet is Edgar Guest. I just think his poems are so heartwarming, but I always share Edgar Guest things. So there's a couple. There's a little tiny poem that I found in this little anthology poetry book. It's called It Will Show on Your Face. And I actually ended up reading it at my mom's memorial some years ago, almost 20 years ago,
Oh,
because it reminded me of her. And I posted it one time on Facebook because it said it was by author unknown. What do you know? A friend I know in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania said, my mother wrote that poem. It was in Reader's Digest magazine years ago and published. And so someone passed it along, forgetting, who the poet was.
wow.
She told me that she wrote it when, she's like, when I was little, she would always tell me, I can see what's going on in that heart of yours by looking at your face, Gemma. And so that poem kind of, she loved it and she
What was
shared.
her name then? What was her name?
Her name was Helen Matteo, Matteo. And I'll read the poem.
Oh.
Don't have to tell how you live each day. You don't have to say if you work or you play. A tried true barometer serves in the place. However you live, it will show in your face. The false, the deceit that you bear in your heart will not stay inside where it first got to start. For sinew and blood are a thin veil of lace. What you wear in your heart, you wear in your face. If your life is unselfish, if for others you live, for not what you get, but how much you can give, if you live close to God and His infinite grace, you don't have to tell it. It shows on your face. Isn't
That's
that
that's really lovely.
am I
I
you
really like.
such a rejoicing lady, just always, everybody around her, like she was always bubbling. And I'm like, You know what kind of lady my mom was. So it was perfect to read.
That is so lovely. I love that. All right, well, let me share with you some Langston Hughes. So I've been reading through his selected poems, and I was sharing earlier that there's a whole section in the middle from page 47 called Sea and Land that I would totally use with children because they are kind of even young children because they're nice and short and they are basically by about the sea and the land. And the first one mentions sloppy joes. So you know, there's so much that children can relate to. So I picked out one called In Time of Silver Rain. In time of silver rain, the earth puts forth new life again. Green grasses grow and flowers lift their heads, and over all the plain the wonder spreads of life, of life, of life. In time of silver rain, the butterflies lift silken wings to catch a rainbow cry, and trees put forth new leaves to sing in joy beneath the sky. As down the roadway passers boys and girls go singing too, in time of silver rain, when spring and life are new. Isn't that a lovely one? Isn't that lovely for
Beautiful.
children? So,
Mhm.
so beautiful. I'll read because they're short. So I'll read you another one from here. There's a really, really short one that I read in the winter, and I like this one. It's just 3 lines. So great for children to memorize. So this is called Winter Moon. So a brilliant one. I'll have to put some of these in the Substack post so you can memorize them with your children. How thin and sharp is the moon tonight? How thin and sharp and ghostly white is the slim curved crook of the moon tonight? Okay, I read that wrong. Let me read that again. How thin and sharp is the moon tonight? How thin and sharp and ghostly white is the slim curved crook of the moon tonight? I mean, it just sounds good to say, doesn't it? You really have to look at a
Yes.
poem a few times, because as I've shared before, again, with another interview that I heard with Lucy Shaw, I'll also she's one of my favorite poets too. And I'll try and post some of these interviews for you to listen to. The interviewer asked her, how would you like people to read your poems? It sounded like a very deep and intellectual question. She just said, out loud. I just want people to read them out loud. I was like, yeah, poems are meant to be read out loud. And just like the example then, you have to sort of read it a few times to realize, oh, that one continues. I need to change my intonation or my cadence there. Okay, here's one more from Langston. If anybody else has got another one ready for us. This is called Snail. Little snail, dreaming you go. Weather and rose is all you know. Weather and rose is all you see. Drinking the dewdrops mystery. And that's perfect for a child, isn't it? Absolutely perfect. What I'll have to do, I'm going to research because they're selected poems, I'll look for the book called Sea and Land by Langston Hughes, and I think we should get people reading it with their children because it is really great. There's tons in there, and then they're all they're great. All right, anybody got any others for us? Any other Mary or anything else that you've been reading? I've got I've got these cool magnet butterfly page holders all through my Mary Oliver poetry books.
Page 131 in that book, the Mary
Yep.
Oliver book. It's a
Go
short
for it.
one. You read much more, I want to say nicely. Your voice sounds so much better than mine, so you can
Yours
read it.
is great, Shannon. I'm just dramatic. Oh, sorry, are you not going to read it to us? I thought you were going to read it. I was poised then.
Okay. I guess I can,
Come
but
on, you
I
can.
forgive me for the boys again.
Oh, don't
It's called
worry.
Praying, page 131. It doesn't have to be the blue iris. It could be weeds in a vacant lot or a few small stones. Just pay attention, then patch. A few words together, and don't try to make them elaborate. This isn't a contest, but the doorway into thanks and a silence in which another voice may speak.
Mm. What drew you to that one, Shannon?
I mean, I take it that so many times we don't pray because we think it has to be perfect and all these right words, but you have a starting place and it could be from emptiness and it may look like a patchwork of just random things, but the point is to get there and share what your your needs are, your praises to the Lord.
Mm. Mm. That's lovely.
I put a bookmark in that one too. I was going to read
Did
that.
did
I
you? Oh, I love that.
haven't read a ton of this. And
You
it's
should
a
have
thick
read
book.
it.
It's a thick book, and I was flipping through them, and that one caught my eye, and I just sat there with it for a few minutes. That's neat. We
Do you
both
have another another Tracy Bourne one? Do you have another Mary Oliver one, Tracy?
Um, let's see. Well, that's the Mary Oliver one. Well, let's see. I did put a bookmark in I Wake Close to Morning. It's page 3. Why do people keep asking to see God's identity papers when the darkness opening into morning is more than enough? Certainly any God might turn away in disgust. Think of Sheba approaching the kingdom of Solomon. Do you think she had to ask, is this the place? That made me chuckle. It's like those verses in Romans where it's things of the creation are clearly known, by just we
Yes.
see that there's a good God.
Why do people keep asking for God's identification paper?
I have
That's
a.
amazing.
It's not Mary Oliver.
That's okay. Go for
Okay.
it.
It's by Myra Brooks Welsh, and it's one of my favorite poems of all time. It's called "The Touch of the Master's Hand."
Mm.
Y'all know it?
No, I don't think so. I'm going to find it.
Used to have it on my bathroom wall for years, and when I'd brush my teeth, I'd say it in my head. So I have it by.
Oh,
I'll
I
probably read
love.
it. Don't mess it up.
Okay, we're listening.
'Twas battered and scarred, and the auctioneer thought it scarcely worth his while to waste much time on the old violin, but held it up with a smile. What am I bidding, good folks? He cried. Who'll start the bidding for me? $1, $1, then 2? Only 2? $2, and who'll make it 3? $3 once, $3 twice, going for 3. But no. From the room far back, a gray-haired man came forward and picked up the bow. Then, wiping the dust from the old violin and tightening the loose strings, he played a melody pure and sweet as a caroling angel sings. The music ceased, and the auctioneer, with a voice that was quiet and low, said, What am I bid for the old violin? And he held it up with the bow. $1,000, and who'll make it 2? 2,000, who'll make it 3? 3,000 once, 3,000 twice, and going and gone, said he. The people cheered, but some of them cried, We do not quite understand. What changed its worth? Swift came the reply, the touch of a master's hand. And many a man with life out of tune, embittered and scarred with sin, is auctioned cheap to the thoughtless crowd, much like the old violin. A mess of pottage, a glass of wine, a game. He travels on. He's going once and going twice. He's going and almost gone. But the master comes, and the foolish crowd never can quite understand the worth of a soul and the change that's wrought by the touch of a master's hand. Myra Brooks Welch.
That is beautiful. I've shared it in the chat, guys, if you want to have a look. Thank you for sharing that, Tracy.
Welcome.
I
On YouTube,
never,
there's a video of it acted out, and it's beautiful. And there it shows this violin passing hands till it's getting all beat up, and then there's the auction, and it's a sweet dramatization.
I'm just trying to look what year it was written.
Don't know.
Let's have a look. It's really lovely. 1921.
Oh,
Yeah, so lovely. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, well, I have another Mary Oliver from page 71, and it's called It Was Early. So even if I'd never told you about her early morning walks, we know, don't we, that she's a morning person, and that you can tell her much of her poetry inspiration comes from her morning walk. So um, the first stanza I relate to completely. It was early. It was early, which has always been my hour to begin looking at the world. And of course, even in the darkness, to begin listening into it, especially under the pines, where the owl lives and sometimes calls out as I walk by, as he did on this morning. So many gifts. What do they mean? In the marshes where the pink light was just arriving, the mink with his bristle tail was stalking the soft-eared mice. And in the pines, the cones were heavy, each one ordained to open. Sometimes I need only to stand wherever I am to be blessed. Little mink, let me watch you. Little mice, run and run. Dear pine cone, let me hold you as you open.
It's beautiful.
Isn't that beautiful? Sometimes I need only to stand wherever I am to be blessed. I love that. They just make me slow right down. Like, I know I read them that way as well, but I want to sit with the poem. I want to just sit there. I think this is another beauty of poetry is that novels are amazing and we love to read, but they keep you moving and moving and moving because you want to get to the end. I think something so beautiful and unique about a poem is that you get to linger in just a few lines for as long as you want or as short as you want. You get to actually sit with it. And just like The Touch of the Massive Hand, your favorite poem, you've had it stuck up, you've memorized parts of it. Like, it's a poem, again, like Charlotte Mason says, it's the line that you mumble, the line that you kind of start to base your life around. She talks about this. Let me find the quote. I love it. I've got to read this to you because it's so lovely. It's all from my workshop at the weekend. But she says this. Bear with me. Okay. Poetry is, so this is from volume 4, page 71. Poetry is perhaps the most searching and intimate of our teachers. To know about such a poet and his work may be interesting as it is to know about Ripu's work, which is metal work, basically. But in the latter case, we must know how to use the tools before we get joy and service out of the art. Poetry too. Oh, sorry. Poetry too supplies us with tools for the modeling of our lives. And the use of these we must get at for ourselves. The line that strikes us as we read, that recurs, that we murmur over at odd moments. This is the line that influences our living. Isn't that amazing? Like, that's totally what we're saying, isn't it? You sink into some words, you sink into a few lines, and this is the line that influences our living. I just think that is absolutely fantastic. I'm going to put that quote in the chat so you can have a look. Ooh. Excuse me. There you go. Anyone else like to read another one? I have probably one more before we finish, which is probably about morning. Please feel free to unmute and share if you have another one for us.
I had storage, which reminded me of the other evening with the PNEU, when you feel like stuff, you've got too much stuff, and it weighs you down, and it was that analogy of it being a burden and things. And it's on
From the
page
Simplicity evening, that one, that when we
yes,
talked about simplicity. Yes.
Yeah. And so it's page 7. When I moved from one house to another, there were many things I had no room for. What does one do? I rented a storage space and filled it. Years passed. Occasionally I went there and looked in, but nothing happened, not a single twinge of the heart. As I grew older, the things I cared about grew fewer, but were more important. So one day I undid the lock and called the trash man. He took everything. I felt like the little donkey when his burden is finally lifted. Things! Burn them, make a beautiful fire. More room in your heart for love, for the trees, for the birds who own nothing, the reason they can fly. And
That's really good. Yeah. Burn them. Just burn all your stuff. I sometimes feel like that. I mean, not books, obviously, but obviously. That's
Aw.
great. So many people have got things in storage that they are in their loft or in the basement, haven't they? Where they just never ever look at it again, and then somebody at some point has to clear it out. Have you heard of the concept of the Swedish death clean? Have you heard of this? This is basically, it sounds very, dark and dramatic, but actually it's this concept of when you are young and fit enough, just get rid of as much stuff as possible so that your kids don't have to. And so it's just kind of, and I'm like, this is great. This is actually great. I'm going to subtly tell my parents because my dad, he has some lovely things. He has a lot of stuff. He likes books like me, so that's fine. But yeah, you have to Google it, Swedish Death Clean. It's basically just kind of simplify your life so that you can enjoy your life and your kids don't have to get rid of all your stuff in many years to come. I think it's quite interesting.
Include all the
Um,
homeschool papers and boxes.
Oh, I know. Do you know what? I've sorted through loads of mine in the past year because I've finished a year ago. And just yesterday I spotted a basket. I used to have baskets everywhere full of books and papers, and I found another big basket. It's still full. It had like artwork in, and I was like, I don't know what to do. I can't keep doing this. This is like grief over and over again. So over the summer, I'll no doubt sort through that one. Um, Okay, I have a poem here from the Book of Time. It's on page 234, and there's lots of parts to it, but I'm just going to read the first part, and I've got this bookmarked and underlined. Oh, Melanie's coming back, I think. I rose this morning early, as usual, and went to my desk. But it's spring, and the thrush is in the woods, somewhere in the twirled branches, and he is singing. And so now I am standing by the open door, and now I am stepping down onto the grass. I am touching a few leaves. I am noticing the way the yellow butterflies move together in a twinkling cloud over the field. And I am thinking, maybe just looking and listening is the real work. Maybe the world without us is the real poem.
Hmm.
Isn't that amazing?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe just looking and listening is the real work. And there she was about to sit down and write a poem, and she was distracted by a thrush in the woods. And her revelation from that is actually the poetry is happening without me. I love her. I love it.
That
So beautiful.
reminds me of a book I'm reading called Hind's Feet on High Places. It's
I
just
love that book.
and I'd wondered if you'd read it as I've been reading it.
Yeah.
And there's a part where she can hear the brook, the language of the brook, and it's like, oh, that's what I thought of when.
Yeah. Yeah, that is lovely. There's somebody bought me a beautiful, like a gift version of that book a few years ago. They kind of keep republishing it in different ways, and it was illustrated all the way through. But it's quite an old book, isn't it? It's gorgeous. Yeah, it is a lovely one.
Put it from my library and loved it. She said I read it twice. I'm like, it's in my library. I read it. So
Oh, I'm sure there are many books in your library, Tracy, that you haven't read yet. Okay. I think I should please do a mute if you've got any other as we come into land here. Um, but I'm going to let me just find you. I'm going to find you a longer Langston Hughes poem. Hang on a second. We just talk a lot about nature as well. Poets do talk a lot about nature, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this one's called Little Green Tree. It's still quite short, but Little Green Tree. It looks like to me my good time days done past. Nothing in this world is due to last. I used to play, and I played so doggone hard. Now old age has dealt my bad luck card. I look down the road and I see a little tree. A little piece down the road, I see a little tree. Them cool green leaves is waiting to shelter me. Oh, little green tree.
Oh,
Isn't that cute? Obviously wrote that as an old man. All right. Well, excuse me. We've almost been an hour, which is lovely for a small group of us. So continue to read poetry. I want to highly encourage you. Let me grab the book that Julia was showing you. Just bear with me a second. I'll also show you some more poetry. So I taught one of my favorites is Lucy Shaw. She's in her late 90s now, if I say late, it might be mid 90s. She's in her mid 90s and she's still writing poetry every day, I believe. So we're told. But she publishes regularly, like at least once a year. She's bringing out a new book every 18 months or so. And Reversing Entropy is one of her, it's maybe came out earlier this year. But yeah, she's absolutely brilliant. So I'm reading this one as well as all my others. And then this is the book which has traveled with me and it's nicely battered and broken spine there. And that's the one that Julia was telling you about, The Axe for the Frozen Sea, which is by Conversations with Poets About What Matters Most. And this is Ben Palpant. So if you are interested in learning kind of what's behind the poetry and the incentive and why people get into poetry, this is really lovely. So he does interview Lucy Shaw and he interviews Malcolm Guite, and I'm sure if there may be others that you've not heard of that are in here. Scott Cairns, if you've heard of him. And it's great to know about poets that are writing today, because I read lots of dead poets. I read lots of the old poetry, but this introduced me to some new poets, which I then was appreciative of and kind of got really into. So really, enjoy it. It's just a collection of interviews, so you can dip in and out. So I've been reading it slowly, and when I'm on a train or kind of just have a moment somewhere, I'll just read one interview. So I'm going to see if I can find, let me find something I have underlined to share with you. So this is from, I will butcher the pronunciation of her name, but her name is Karen Ahweli. And this is from her interview, and I'll share this as we finish. If you've got the book, it's page 85. Poetry is a shared experience, even a form of communion, insofar as it is an exchange of intimate thoughts or emotions. As a poet, I believe that words matter, but maybe there is a dimension that draws us closer to the musical realm where language is a form of embodied experience. Instead of striving to find precise meanings or representation all the time, maybe we should let the words float over us. Let them bring us to a place of contemplation. That beautiful. There's so much of that. And she says later on in this page, in a society of distraction and anxiety, her poems bring us back to authentic human connection, spirituality, and corporeally. Corporeally. What is that word?
Google
I'm
it.
going to need to look that one up. Corporally, maybe spirituality and corporeally, as well as metaphysical questions. She's talking about Emily Dickinson. That's what that quote is from. In a society of distraction and anxiety, her poems bring us back to authentic human connection. But now I need to look that word up because I've underlined it. Maybe I underlined it as well because I didn't know what it meant. So there's tons of great just reflections on what poetry does to us in this book. So recommend it. Get it on your Christmas list or your birthday list or just on your wish list, whatever. Some kind of list. Put it on there.
I have a question.
Yes.
You may have said this already at the beginning because I missed it, but your poetry book that's coming out?
It's coming. I keep setting this date like it's going to be out, and it's nearly ready. Travel, jet lag, all these kind of things. I set these. It should be out this weekend. That's the goal. It will be out this weekend. So, oh, thank you, Melanie. Pori. I'd like to know how to say it in the body, in a bodily form or manner. We need to use this word now this week, guys, in the next few days. Put it in a sentence. I'm going to go on the pronunciation bit. Thanks to Google. Yeah, I will go on Google and ask it. I will say, how do I pronounce that? Corporal, corpor. It looks like corpor. It looks like really. It's my phonetic understanding still of spelling, but all right. Well, she'll use that in a sentence, Melanie. Thank you for Googling it for us. Okay, well, oh, here we go. Julie, core, pronounced like core, paw, corporeally. Do you put it all together? Go for it, Tracy. You say it.
Corporally? No, I want to say corporally. I don't know.
Corporally. Maybe that is how it sounds, corporally. Thank you, Julia and Melanie, for helping us with our etymology lesson this evening. Right, so we will be back next month to do the same thing, to sit around and read poetry together. And maybe next month we should bring tea. I know it's evening. We could do decaf tea, Leah. I know it's evening, and we'll see how many we can gather. I think August we might get a better chance of getting a bigger crowd because people start getting back into school routines in the States. Schools are just out here in England, so summer break has only just started here for the next 6 weeks. So yeah, so we're just feeling like we're just winding down for the summer break, and a lot of the Americans are talking about preparing to go back. It's very confusing. Where is the poetry quote from? It's from page 86 of this book of Acts for the Frozen Sea, and it's from the poet Karen Awaley. Karen Awaley. Yeah, it's a great interview. It's a good one. No problem. Okay, well, I think we're back next week with the Parents Review Society. And I sent the email out with all the details in. And because you're here in the room, name of the poem about water thrush. Who read the poem? Did I read that poem, Melanie? Who read the poem about the water thrush? I don't know. We've been reading we've been reading Langston Hughes, Mary Oliver, and then a few others. What else have we thrown in there? We'll have to listen back to the replay, Melanie, and see if we can find one. I talked about a thrush, but not a water thrush. And that was from, do you think it's that? From the Mary Oliver poem The Field Sparrow. I did read that one too. They're all from here. They're all from Devotions. Yeah. What we'll have to do, Melanie, we'll have to have a little flick back. We'll have to go back through the replay and see, make sure we can find them all for you. But yes, while you're all here, there's a big push to get the word out. Get the word out, guys. She's doing well. She's in my hands, which is very exciting, and out in about 3 weeks, or is it even shorter? whatever it is, that means that's how long I've got of being 49. It's the same day. So I'm hanging on. So if you do happen, thank you, Leah. You are so supportive. If you do happen to be on social media or have a group of friends, I'd love lots of people to know about her. It's just the essence of the publishing beast is that you do all the work writing the book and getting your heart and soul into it, and then you have to ask people for reviews and pre-order and do all those things. But you all understand. You're all very kind. But if you do get a chance to share anything that I post, please do, and just gets the word out a little bit more. And I do want children to know that there are people in the 21st century writing living books. And this is a beautiful story that I want your kids to know about and you to know about too. All right. Thank you for coming. Thank you for sharing your poetry. Have a wonderful rest of the day and or evening, whatever you are doing. And we'll see you all very soon. And Julia, welcome to your first night on the collective. I hope it's a gentle introduction for you. I'm glad you
Thank
came.
you.
All right. Okay, guys. We'll see you all soon. Bye.